blocked them, not out of rage, not out of pettiness, but because peace started to feel more valuable than their inconsistency. And in that instant, you flipped the entire dynamic. See, avoidant exes thrive on control. They need to know you're still there, even in silence. They scroll your page. They hover over your name. They check that last scene, because as long as you're reachable, they're comfortable. Blocking removes that safety net. It's not just a button, it's a psychological nuke. To them, it's rejection, but on your terms. It's silence, but this time with authority. It's everything they secretly fear, losing access to someone who once gave them endless chances. When you hit block, you don't just disappear from their phone, you disappear from their emotional control system. And that, my friend, is their breaking point. Because deep down, avoidants crave what they run from: intimacy. They crave connection, but fear dependency. They want closeness, but only when they can decide the distance. So when you block them, you shatter their illusion of power. Suddenly they can't test the waters with a hey. They can't breadcrumb you with emojis. They can't stalk your stories to feel relevant in your life. You took their comfort zone and made it quiet. And silence, to an avoidant, is terrifying. It forces them to face what they've avoided all along, the consequence of emotional distance. Because here's the irony, they left to protect their peace, but you became the peace they can't reach. And the longer they sit in that blocked silence, the more the mind starts to spiral. What are they doing? Did they move on? Was I the problem? Those questions echo louder with every passing day. Remember this: when you were chasing, they were calm. When you stopped, they were confused. But when you blocked, they were shaken. Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." That's exactly what you did. You stopped trying to control their response and reclaimed control over your peace. And make no mistake, your silence says more than any message ever could, because an avoidant doesn't process words, they process loss. They understand value only when access is gone. The same person who once needed space is now suffocating in it. The same one who said, "I'm not ready," is now realizing they lost the one person who was patient enough to wait. See, when you block them, you force accountability. You force reflection. You trigger regret. Not immediately, but inevitably. That's the beauty of detachment. You didn't punish them. You just let consequences speak. And the longer you stay silent, the louder your growth becomes. Your peace starts to glow. Your energy starts to rise. Your absence becomes magnetic. Because while they're trying to figure out how to get unblocked, you're figuring out how to never need to block anyone again. That's evolution. That's emotional maturity. That's your power reclaiming itself. And if you're watching this right now, it's not by accident. It's because some part of you knows you didn't lose them. You freed yourself. You've entered a chapter where your boundaries are no longer negotiable, where your healing isn't about proving a point, it's about protecting your peace. And here's the truth, the person who blocks doesn't always do it to hurt. Sometimes they do it to finally breathe. So if that's you, if you finally chose silence over chaos, congratulations. You just taught your avoidant ex the lesson life never could. What it feels like to lose someone emotionally secure enough to walk away. Enjoyed this video? Here's how to level up with Ace Wisdom. Drop a like if this hit home. It helps more people find the truth they need to hear. Subscribe if you're ready to outgrow the old version of yourself. We break down emotional patterns, psychology, and real power moves after heartbreak. If you're serious about healing, detaching, and becoming untouchable, this is your space. Turn on all notifications so you never miss when a new video drops. Want deeper insights, plus exclusive content? Join the channel membership, Spark of Wisdom, Wisdom Warrior, or step it up a notch by becoming an Ace of Aces member. The link is in the video description. Know someone who needs this message? Share this video with a friend who's stuck, confused, or ready to rise. You could be the reason they finally let go and step up. And trust me, by the end of this episode, you'll see exactly what's happening in their mind right now. They thought you'd never walk away. They thought you'd always wait. But this time, they can't find you. Let's begin. Stay focused. Key point 1, the shock phase. Wait, did they really just block me? When you block an avoidant ex, the first thing they feel isn't sadness, it's disbelief. Avoidants are wired to assume they have time to check in later, time to see how you're doing, time to keep you orbiting their world while they hide from emotional accountability. But when you block them, that illusion shatters. There's no later, no breadcrumb trail, no little emotional doorway left open. It's done. And the shock hits harder than you might think, because avoidants don't see it coming. They think you'll stay predictable. They think you'll always leave the light on. That's what they counted on, your emotional availability. But now, they're staring at their phone, and it's quiet. No profile picture, no story updates, no green dot, nothing. Just emptiness, the kind they once claimed they needed. Until it actually happened. See, this is the moment their internal wiring starts to glitch. They've spent the relationship running from closeness. Now they're running toward the very thing they pushed away. But they can't access it anymore. That's the psychological trap of avoidance. They crave safety, not connection. But when their safety net disappears, the craving turns into panic. So they go through mental gymnastics. Maybe it's a mistake. Maybe they just deleted the app. Maybe they'll unblock me once they calm down. They try to rationalize your boundary as temporary because the idea of permanent loss terrifies them. They won't admit that, though, not out loud. Instead, they'll act unaffected, post something cryptic, pretend they're fine, but deep down, they're scrambling, because blocking doesn't just cut communication, it cuts control. And for someone who thrives on distance, real distance suddenly feels like death to the ego. It's a mirror moment, a confrontation with the one thing they've avoided their whole life: vulnerability. This is the part they won't tell you. Even though they act like they don't care, your silence consumes them. Every scroll through their phone reminds them of what's missing. Every post they see from others triggers the one person they can't see, you. And this is only the beginning, because once the shock fades, it turns into curiosity, then anxiety, then the slow, creeping regret. Stay locked in, because in key point 2, we'll break down exactly what happens when that curiosity flips into obsession and why your silence starts to haunt them more than any message ever could. Key point 2, the obsession loop. Why can't I stop thinking about them? After the shock wears off, something strange happens. The same avoidant who once claimed they needed space suddenly can't stand it. They start to spiral, and here's the paradox. The more they try not to think about you, the more your absence hijacks their mind, because now you're not accessible, you're not predictable, you're gone. And for the avoidant psyche, that's chaos. They've built their whole emotional defense system around control. Control over distance, control over when to respond, control over when to engage and when to disappear. But when you block them, you flip the script. You become the one in control of silence. And that silence starts to echo. They scroll through old photos, replay your voice in their head, revisit old texts trying to decode where things shifted. They even re-watch your stories in their mind because they can't anymore in reality. That's when obsession kicks in. See, neuroscience explains this perfectly. When the brain loses access to a familiar dopamine source, like your attention, your voice, your validation, it goes into withdrawal. That's why they can't stop thinking about you. You were their emotional hit, a soothing presence they thought they could always return to. But when you remove that access, the brain craves closure, and avoidants hate that word. Closure means admitting emotional dependency, admitting feelings, admitting they lost something real. So instead, they loop, they replay moments in their head. That wasn't that bad. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe they're being dramatic. That's not logic. That's denial disguised as control. And the longer you stay silent, the louder those internal questions become. What if they've moved on? What if someone else gets the version of them I rejected? What if they never unblock me? Every what if adds pressure. Every unanswered thought amplifies the loss. That's the irony. The same person who once said, "I'm not ready for this," now wakes up wondering if they just let go of the best thing that ever happened to them. They'll check mutual friends. They'll stalk from fake accounts. They'll scroll through old messages just to feel something. And no, it's not always because they want to come back. It's because their ego can't accept that you moved first. Blocking them challenges their identity. They've always been the one to leave. They've always been the one to withdraw. Now they're the one left outside. And that imbalance eats at them. Because for the first time, you're not emotionally available. You're not waiting for closure. You're not chasing understanding. You're simply done. And that, to an avoidant, is magnetic and terrifying all at once. They'll start imagining conversations that never happened. They'll start feeling emotions they swore they didn't have. That's how avoidance collapses, through silence that can't be controlled. So don't let the obsession phase fool you. They might not reach out right away, but mentally you've become their loop, a thought they can't switch off, a mystery they can't solve, a mirror they can't escape. Stay silent, stay centered. Because, in key point 3, we'll reveal what happens next, the regret phase, where the fantasy collapses, the mask slips, and the avoidant finally realizes the full weight of losing you. Key point 3, the regret phase. I didn't think they'd actually move on. Here's where everything shifts. The silence has dragged on. You're still blocked from their life, but now they're the one who feels it. This is the phase where the avoidant ex starts to realize, you're not coming back. At first, they told themselves you were being emotional. They assumed you'd cool off. They thought the block was a temporary tantrum, a little emotional protest to get their attention. But when days turn into weeks, and weeks into months, that assumption starts to crumble. Because you didn't just block them from your phone, you blocked their access to power. And that hits deep. For someone who built safety by controlling closeness, your absence is like oxygen disappearing from the room. They can't breathe in your energy anymore. They can't peek into your world for comfort. They can't confirm whether you still care. And that uncertainty tortures them. That's when regret creeps in. Slowly, quietly, brutally. They start remembering the good parts, the laughs, the warmth, the way you'd always understand what they couldn't say, the way you made them feel safe without judgment. And suddenly, all those small moments they dismissed become huge. See, the human brain rewrites history to fill emotional gaps. When they feel loss, they glorify what they once ignored. That's not just nostalgia, it's neurological compensation. Now, every reminder of you becomes a trigger, a song, a memory, a smell. even someone else's voice that sounds like yours. It all pulls them back into what they ran from. They start scrolling old photos like relics of a life they can't get back. They hover over the message button, knowing it won't go through, but still doing it anyway, because now they're not chasing you, they're chasing the feeling you gave them. And here's the hard truth. Regret hits the avoidant hardest when they realize you're not angry anymore. You're indifferent, because indifference is emotional closure. It means your nervous system no longer reacts to them. It means their power expired. They'll test your silence, maybe from a new account, maybe through mutual friends, maybe with a random text just to see if you'll respond. But it's not about reconnection. It's about reassurance. They just want to know they still matter, because your peace now feels like their punishment. And this is where you level up. Don't chase, don't unblock, don't explain, because you don't owe an explanation for peace. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." That's the energy you carry now. You chose peace over pain, growth over chaos, boundaries over breadcrumbs. And here's the paradox that'll eat at them forever. The moment you blocked them wasn't the end of their control. It was the beginning of your transformation. You didn't punish them. You protected your future self. And now your silence is teaching them what no argument ever could, what real loss feels like. Because losing access to someone who loved you deeply, but learned to love themselves more, that's the regret that never fades. Now, before we move into the final segment of this episode, where I'll break down exactly why avoidants try to circle back after you've healed, I want you to do one thing right now. Drop this in the comments. Peace is my power. That's the secret mantra for this episode. The first person to comment it will get pinned, because this isn't about revenge, it's about evolution. And the moment you chose silence, you didn't lose them. You found yourself. Now let's go deeper. Silence was the closure. You see, blocking them was never about ego, it was about energy. It was about finally realizing that protecting your peace isn't cold, it's sacred, because there comes a point where explaining, hoping, or waiting isn't strength anymore. It's self-betrayal. And when you hit that point, you don't announce it. You don't warn them. You just go quiet. That's silence. That's your healing speaking louder than words ever could. They thought blocking them was petty. They'll learn it was permanent. They thought you'd come back. They'll realize you became someone they can't even reach anymore. Let them wonder. Let them scroll. Let them feel the void they once created for you. Because now they're the ones standing in it. Your job isn't to reopen the door. It's to keep walking through the ones that lead to peace, purpose, and power. Because once you understand that silence is closure, you stop chasing explanations. You stop decoding mixed signals. You stop trying to heal in the same place that hurt you. You start trusting the distance. You start valuing solitude. You start attracting peace that doesn't need protecting. And that's when the story shifts. You stop being the one who waits and become the one who's watched. Every level of your glow-up becomes a reminder of what they lost. Every calm day you create is a mirror of the chaos they still live in. So don't look back. Don't unblock out of curiosity. Don't trade your peace for closure. Because real closure isn't a conversation. It's transformation. You blocked them to end the cycle. Now, stay unblocked in your purpose. If you felt this message, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for the rest of Volume 8, Their Breaking Point. Silence, replacement, and regret. This journey isn't about the avoidant anymore. It's about you stepping into emotional freedom. I'll see you in the next episode. Stay grounded, stay unbothered, and remember, peace is your power.